got me hypnotized. Gonna leave me losing my composure. Fire and night, but I wanna get a little closer. Hypnotized. Whoa, hypnotized.
Okay, Unheard Gems, I am now joined with an artist called Traces. Welcome to our show, and how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Just like to be here.
So, first off, how did you know you wanted to pursue music, and when did you really start music? What was that sort of origin story for you?
Yeah, so, I think it was like about 13 or 14. I grew up in San Diego, and so I would kind of play at all the local venues in San Diego, just opening for random bands that would come through. And so I used to just like open up for all the like random YouTuber bands and Parachute and Switchfoot and all the ones that would just kind of roll through into the like mid to small venues. I kind of was like, I played in a couple bands and really enjoyed writing songs. And then I think when I was about 16 or something like that, like probably close to turning 17, I kind of was like, I kind of just got to a place where I was like, I can either do this or not do this. And I kind of chose to take a shot at it. And so, I moved up to LA and started writing for like pop songs, like just pop pitches for other artists predominantly. And also working on like TV movie trailer stuff and syncs and stuff like that. But then, Traces eventually started, and just kind of like as a means for me to express myself, just kind of like say the things I needed to get off my chest. And so, I think that's, I guess that a good answer.
Yeah. So I have to ask how you came up with the name Traces.
Yeah, I wish I had a great story for it. To be honest, I wrote down a bunch of names on a piece of paper, and that was the one that like was the least lame, pretty much, out of all of them. There was some bad ones, like some really bad ones, that I will never say out loud. But yeah, I think like the whole, I guess like the meaning behind it, what we found was like the phrase, there's like traces of this in your bloodstream, or like traces of something. It was kind of just like your past affects your present, and your present affects your future. And so it's just kind of like taking all the things that like make up who we are, thinking about where I'm at. And so I guess that's like the meaning I made up after writing down 100 names. So.
And then just sort of, why did you choose to go by Traces versus like your real name?
Oh, so I always liked bands. Like I loved, like growing up, I loved The Fray and I loved OneRepublic. And so I always loved bands. I loved Coldplay, Kings of Leon. And so I think like, I never really wanted to be a solo act. Like that was just never something I really wanted to do. But I kind of had all these songs, and I was the only one. I was like kind of the only one that was like, I was doing everything myself, and I was working with some other writers and producers, but pretty much everything was just like coming from me naturally. So I knew I didn't want to like be Tim, because my real name's Tim. I was like, one's just like the like wimpiest white boy name I could possibly think of. So there's that. But then I think also just like, there's an obscurity behind it, and there's like, there's a lot of like cool branding stuff I could do, and just kind of like, I think playing into a character is really helpful for me. Just as a writer, I kind of like try to have it be two separate things. And so like music video wise and live wise, I'm definitely playing another side of like me, I guess, that already exists, but playing it up a little bit more. And then as a writer, it just kind of, it gives me a person to be able to like speak to directly, and just an outlet to be able to speak honestly from. Whereas if I was speaking as myself, I think I would be a little bit more hidden, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
I think it helps me to be like a little bit more genuine, which is weird because you're making up you're playing a different person. But yeah, I think that's kind of like what's worked out about it. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's just terrible. Not good. Not good. Not gonna work.
So your music seems to cross over a bunch of like the traditional like genre lines. It's not like traditional pop music and it's not like completely electronic music. So
Sure.
how would you define your style of music and how have you seen that evolve or change since you started?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. I grew up loving, like I said, the Fray One Republic, and so I love pop rock music. I've always loved pop rock. And so there's something, and I write pop songs for other artists, like most days of the week. That's kind of what I predominantly spend my time doing. Um, and so I think I love the pop side, and I love being able to like just songwriting and writing songs, writing catchy hooks. That's just something that I'll never be able to break. But in high school, I fell in love with hip hop. I was obsessed. Like I just like my buddy Travis just started handing me records and was like, listen to this, listen to this, listen to this. Like here's why you're wrong for not liking this, and he would just kind of tell me all those things and teaching me essentially. So I fell in love with hip hop music, and then when I moved out to LA, I started working with a buddy of mine named Michael Morgan. He was the producer that produced "Share Your Love, Do Better, and Hypnotize," and he had like a lot of we had a lot of like similar tastes in music, and he kind of was like, what if we try taking something a little bit more electronic based? And so we did those first 3 songs kind of just as like, what would I do as an artist, like if I was going to even try? But I would say the EP is kind of what defines my sound. Yeah, it's a blend between pop melodies I'll never be able to break, and I think hip hop and electronic music. I guess like if there's a genre, I think like I somewhere fit like the alternative R&B area if you have to have a title for it. But yeah, that's the main influences. Like I love pop rock, I love electronic music, and I love hip hop. And so kind of blending those together with a hint of R&B here and there that flutters through all of the styles, that kind of makes up my sound for the most part. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Sorry if I was rambling.
No, you're good. And so as like a relatively newer artist, how do you think that's going to influence your music and the style, like as you continue on? Like, do you think it's ever going to change, or do you think you like the lane you're in right now, or would you like to see yourself maybe shifting towards one genre or another, or get more influences elsewhere?
Yeah, I just kind of pull for like what I'm interested in at the time. Like we first these those came out in when did the EP come out? March, April? I don't know. October. I don't know. It came out. I think it came out in October. That's really bad. I don't know that. But it came out in October. Yeah. So I think I've been sitting on those songs for over a year. Some of them for 2 years. Like Awake, which is like the 4th track on the EP, I wrote December 2016. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's like all kind of just finally coming out now, or December 2015. Sorry. Yeah, so like it's been a very long time, and so I think like for me it's like kind of about constantly evolving. So it's like whatever I'm interested in at the time. EP2, I think like there's like new sounds I've been interested in, like a lot of new things I've been playing with, and so like yeah, I'm excited to put that out around. I think it's going to come out around March-ish, and then I have another one after that that I've been working on. So yeah, there's like it's kind of just like constant development, constant like trying to figure out what is interesting right now, what is catching my ear. Doesn't sound like everything else I've heard before, type of thing. And then obviously like what has truth to it, like it all has to come down to the lyrics. Like it comes down to like what needs to be said and how does it best need to be communicated. And I think a lot of that comes from what sounds are you using, production wise, what are you using? Does it have to be really aggressive? Should I pull back? So yeah, I don't know. I think like if I'm not developing, that's a mistake. If it always sounds the same, then that's a problem. I think it should like constantly be developing, constantly getting better, and constantly be pushing into like a new territory essentially. So yeah, I don't know, that's my thoughts.
And so when you're writing your songs, do you have like consistent sources of inspiration, or does it change with like what's going on in your life? And then so what's that overall creative process like?
Yeah, it changes a lot. Depends on who I'm working with. I kind of try and pick who I work with based on the idea I have. Inspiration for lyrics wise, it's kind of shifted around. Like EP1, I kind of talk about kind of like falling into depression and kind of dealing with like anxiety and just like some more like mental health things that I never really experienced before in a true sense. And so I think within that there's like a lot of aspects of religion. How does that play a role into relationships? And just kind of like all the different parts that go into like being depressed and what causes it and like why am I where I was at. And I think EP2 you see the tail end of that. It's kind of like whatever I'm feeling in the moment, and I try not to overthink it. When I put a concept down and say, hey, this is exactly what it has to be about, this is like what the title is going to be, this is what the concept's going to be, I can never write the song. I will never be able to do it. And so I think like having some ideas and having general feelings and being able to like kind of push into like where your heart is at the moment, and then just be able to kind of like get into a room, play on a piano, play over a beat, and just see what comes out. That's usually like where the best stuff comes from, and I think some of the most honest stuff comes from. Yeah, there's a couple ideas that I have, and like there's a couple like larger themes that I have, but yeah, I try to listen to some of my favorite artists and people that are deep thinkers and have a lot of conversations with friends and family. I think that's like where some of the most like realizations come from, and like the most reflective moments come from too, where you can kind of see yourself truly. So yeah, I think that's like mainly how I keep inspired and try to find new things and sort of talk about, I guess. So it's not all the same exact song every single time. But,
so if you had to pick one song that would be like your favorite overall, like in the process, which would it be? And like it could be a song that's already out or one that is coming out in the future. You don't have to give it away.
Yeah. IDBH is a special one for me. I really like IDBH. That was like a big deal for me because that one has all of the elements of what I do. Like it has like all the production elements of what I do. It has all the lyricism that I want, all the heart that I want. Yeah, I just like I really love that song, and kind of like how that shows where I'm at, what I want to say, how I want to say it. But I like that song a lot. There's a song called Violent Ends that's going to come out on EP2 that I think is really good as well. It just has like a lot of, it's just genuine. Like it's like really, there's nothing hidden. There's nothing that I'm trying to overstate or over amplify in any way. It's just like, this is exactly how I feel about this situation, and here it is. So yeah, I think like the songs I usually tend to prefer are like the ones that feel the most honest, like the most close to everything that I do. Musically, meaning like what does it sound like? Are these sounds that I tend to come up with or draw near to? And then also topically, like are the lyrics, is that how I talk? Like is that how I have this conversation with somebody? And so the closer to that it is for me. But yeah, those two.
And then, so moving on to music videos, I saw the video for Hypnotize, and it was amazing and actually quite different from a lot of music videos I've seen. And so where did you
what
get...
do you think of it?
I loved it so much. So I want to know where you get inspiration for that story and sort of the art in a music video and how you're involved in that and what that process is like.
That's a weird one. It was funny. I was taking a final. I was in my winter finals doing like English essays I did not want to be doing while all my friends and manager, people I worked with are all in New York filming that video. It was the worst day ever. But yeah, there's a director named Noah Konopask who I just think is like, he's brilliant, so talented, like really good at like setting a visual precedent, coming up with these cool themes. And so with that one, he came to me with this idea about like the opening scene of Macbeth. And we kind of talked about like the three witches. And I think it was kind of a long shot in like what we were able to convey, but with that one, it was like Noah I love working with other artists and like working with other artists that are very good at their medium, and he is so talented at film and visuals. And so I kind of wanted to let him do his thing. He had this really cool concept, and I was like, you do it, man. Like, you make what you're going to do. Future music videos that like we're working on now, I'm pretty staunch about coming up with all the concepts myself. And so with that, I just spend a lot of time kind of sitting down with the songs, looking at art. I spend like a lot of time. I feel like such a arts like snob hipster kid saying that, but like, yeah, I spend like a lot of time just in the morning, like looking at art and like art designs throughout eras and seeing like, okay, what's inspiring? This is cool. This is not cool. This is cool. Yeah, I think that's like, I kind of just try to pull the concept from there and what is visually do I want it to look like. Yeah, we have a bunch of stuff in the works. And so I think the visual side is something that we intentionally haven't shown a lot of yet. And it's definitely like all kind of being laid out now in 2018. So yeah, I'm excited. I'll be curious to hear what you think.
I look forward to seeing it. So I have 2 questions left.
Sure.
And so one would be, are there any big role models or influences as a newer artist in the music industry, both, and that could be in writing, in producing, in the making of videos, anything?
Yeah, there's a bunch. A couple that stand out was OneRepublic. So Ryan Tedder, who's the lead singer of OneRepublic, he's written like an absurd amount of #1 hits. So he wrote a bunch of Adele songs. He wrote Halo by Beyonce. He wrote Bleeding Love by Leona Lewis. A bunch of Haley Steinfeld. He's just an amazing songwriter. And so I think like he's always been the one for me. I've always been like, if only I could be like you. If only I could. I remember having a conversation with my dad where I was like, my goal is to be better than Tedder. Is like work my ass off and try to get there. And so, yeah, I think he's somebody that's always been one for me. Banks is another one. Banks is in my top 5 for sure. She's just so creative, and she's a boss lady. Like, she just like, she like knows exactly what she wants and how she wants to say it. I think she's brilliant. She's a huge inspiration to me. And then Kevin Garrett is another one. He does like a lot of like piano, vocal, soul stuff, and so yeah, he's somebody that I've always just thought was incredible. So yeah, him for sure too.
Okay, and
those are a couple.
Yeah, the last question is one of the ones I'm always really interested to hear. Is if you were to recommend us one growing or unheard musician that we need to listen to, who would it be?
One unheard of band?
Band, musician, anyone. Who should we check out?
Oof. There's a rapper named David Sebastian. He's on Black Cadillac. He's on one of my songs. He is so talented. He's incredible. He's an amazing writer. I mean, there's like no chance he's not massive in a couple years. I think Kevin Garrett. Kevin Garrett is my go-to for everybody. I listen to him every single day of my life. So yeah, he would be the other one that I would like. Yeah, he would be my one. If there's one person I'd like would love everybody to hear, it'd be Kevin Garrett. He's like masterful, and he's like so intentional about his lyrics and how he puts his sound. So yeah.
So thank you so much for doing this interview with us on Unheard Gems. It was great getting the chance to talk to you and learn more about your music, and we all really look forward to hearing what you have coming out soon.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Got me hypnotized. You make me lose my composure. Fire and night, but I wanna get a little closer. Hypnotized. But I wanna get a little closer. But you got me.